Okay, so you're looking at Orlando, Florida, and you're like, I don't want to live there, but I want to get a piece, an investment in Airbnb. I want to buy it in the city because I love going to Disneyland. Or maybe you're an investor and you're looking to move your money from other places, and you're like, look, I love short-term rentals and I want to get into the Orlando market. Well, in this video, I'm going to do a full breakdown of a home that's on the market, what it can mean for your return on cash, and a lot of things you probably don't know and need to look out for if you're looking to get a short-term rental in Orlando, Florida. Let's get into it. What's up, everyone? My name is Cameron Hodge. On this channel, I talk about moving and living in Orlando, Florida, and I put out a video every Tuesday and Thursday, and I absolutely love giving you as much value as possible. But what I love even more, being a licensed realtor here in Florida, is helping you with your real estate decisions when moving to, investing in, living in Orlando, Florida. It's what I do every single day. This number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. Call, text, email, whatever you need to do. I am getting reach out days, nights, weekends by everyone who's looking to make real estate decisions, moving to, investing, everything in Orlando, Florida, and I love it. It's what I do for a living. I could do this every day nonstop, and I love it. It's just what I do, part of my life. And if you're looking to make that decision, we'd love to help you in that process. All right, getting into the video. So if you're watching this, either I'm going to assume that you are looking to get into rental properties, or you're already in that space and you're just looking to get a piece of the pie here in Orlando, Florida. Now, this is obviously no surprise to anyone. Orlando is a huge rental market because, well, you have all these theme parks here, especially Disney World on top of that. And many people do very, very well with short-term rentals here in Orlando. So I'm going to go over a property that is currently listed on the market in Champions Gate, and this map popping up below, popping up now is where you will, where it's roughly located. Champions Gate is an area it's pretty much right on the doorstep of Disney World. So this is a prime location. One thing I will point out though, if you don't already know when it comes to Orlando, Florida and short-term rentals, whether you're looking to get a second home and just rent it out as a short-term rental, or you're actually looking to do just a full-fledged investment property to help relocate your money from California. I've had this conversation before with other clients as well. Like California, Chicago, New York, they're moving it from other locations to probably get more bang for their buck, but also maybe have a place if they want to go visit if they choose to. So short-term rentals are allowed in Orlando. So obviously the reason it changes is, like, one, you have to make sure the area, like the property, is even zoned for short-term rentals, because you will have to get a short-term rental license to be able to function in this area. Now, obviously there's a lot of ways to get around that, but you will have to label that property as a short-term rental. And that's something that can be done on a case-by-case basis when you are looking for properties. When I go out and look for properties, like, we will have that discussion. Also, you need to make sure, like, obviously that it is even allowed. And if there is an HOA in the property, you need to make sure that they allow it. So there's a lot of levels of making sure that it is actually allowed. I've invested in short-term rentals in Arizona, and that was, I started that in 2017. So I have invested in my own short-term rentals, not in Florida specifically, but in Arizona I have. And what's funny is the HOA that I was a part of out there in that townhome, they didn't even have any bylaws against it. So I didn't have any issues. In the city, to be honest with you, I don't think they knew what a short-term rental was. So I was all fair game. But it's something you need to be careful of, because even if you are in an HOA and they allow short-term rentals, like, there is nothing saying that they can't change the bylaws in the future to prevent you being able to rent that out further. So it's something you need to be careful of when investing in short-term rentals here in Orlando. Is like, if all the boxes are checked, you got your license, like, you are good to go in the zoning, but all of a sudden, like 5 years down the road, 2 years down the road, the HOA, you have a new board gets elected, and they're like, hey, we are done with this. Like, we are kicking out all short-term rentals. Like, you need to be aware of that, because your property might work financially for a short-term rental, but it might not fit for just like your standard long-term rental. So you need to be careful of that. A lot of things to talk about, so let's get into it here. All right, so this is a property that is listed for sale in Champions Gate. Alrighty, so this is roughly where it's located. So Disneyland right up here. It's not far from it. Like, Champions Gate is definitely gonna be one of those prime areas, assuming obviously that everything checks out. This property does, so this would be able to be a short-term rental. But one thing everyone needs to be aware of is also, like, everything is going to come down to how much money you're putting down. So everything moving forward from here is I'm going to assume you are a somewhat seasoned investor. You've leased on one property. If not, don't worry. I will do my best to explain everything as we move forward, but this is for, those out there who have definitely an understanding of what to look for in that property. Maybe you're not so savvy when it comes to short-term rentals, but you're looking to get into that space, especially because it's Orlando. And real estate obviously is very hot in this market. So this property, obviously located in Champions Gate, it does meet all the boxes. So we're going to assume for this conversation that it is going to sell for $450,000. We're not going to argue against that. We're just going to do easy math here moving forward, and I'm going to go through all the numbers. Hypothetically, obviously, everything is different depending on your situation, how much money you're putting down. So we will get into it pretty quickly here. So we're going to assume that you're going to be putting 25% down. Okay. So the one thing that's an issue, obviously, in Orlando is because home prices have appreciated so much, is that a lot of times while you might make good income on, monthly gross, meaning like before expenses and everything, because the home values have gone up so much, that could potentially be an issue for you when getting the home. So we're going to assume that you're putting 25% down and you're going all in to try and get that payment down so you can make a good cash on cash return, which I will cover later if you don't know what that means. So getting into it. So, alrighty. So this is a calculator I do. All my clients get set up with this monthly report. So this is just going to be a general overview, but this is a report. So if you own a home, if you're watching this and you own rental properties, I don't care where you are in the United States, like I can set you up for this. You just have to reach out to me and I'm happy to do so. But this is just going to be a general overview of what the averages are for the area. So looking right here, obviously, for this home, and now obviously you'll see basic, fancy. So this is definitely a general calculator for those who aren't super savvy and aren't going to get into it. What this is, we're going to assume for this conversation that the home doesn't need to be renovated. Like it was our short-term rental before, and you're just taking it over from someone. So sometimes, obviously, if you don't already know, when it comes to people who are selling short-term rentals or renting it out before, sometimes you can negotiate the furniture coming with the home. Now, that can't be included in the loan, but you can negotiate a separate number outside of escrow or, in title, and be able to get that furniture with the home. So really you could just be buying, let's say, like a turnkey in this situation. So something to be noted of. So we're going to assume that you're getting this home ready to go, furniture's in place, and I'm not going to assume there's anything that has to go into the property. Obviously, be forewarned that you probably want to put something into the property, most likely, but not always. But for this conversation, we're going to assume that it is good to go. So for this size of home and everything in the area, the average is about $209 per night. That's going off of like the low points in January all the way to like the higher points through spring and November, December, when a lot of people are coming to the area for Disney World and all the theme parks. So $209 a night is the average throughout the year. That's the baseline. Some months will be higher, some months will be lower. And roughly, for a home that's topped out, very nice, well done, let's say your Airbnb or VRBO account is going to have 5 stars, like solid. You get about 18 days out of the month rented out. Now, I have seen a lot more. I have seen some rentals that definitely beat that number out of the water. Recently I had a conversation with another investor, and his rental was almost booked out for the entire rest of the year moving forward at the time of this video, which is now it's mid-May. So moving forward through the rest of the year, almost all his nights are booked. Now, there will be some cancellations, obviously, so that average probably will play out a little bit, but it's crazy that, it's just a popular area. Orlando is an extreme popular area. Now, going off of these averages, your monthly revenue is going to be about $3,709. So we're not going to worry about the annual revenue right now, but that's what your monthly revenue is going to be. So let's get back into it and let's break down some further numbers. Okay, so we know what the gross revenue is going to be monthly, right? So let's talk about what the expenses you're going to expect. So I'm not going to cover like any of the licensing fees that you have to spend yearly to make sure your rental is good to go. That can be a further conversation when that time comes. It's pretty negligible, so it's assuming that obviously, like especially if you have a corporation like an LLC and you're buying this under that will be just part of the LLC's operating finance like expenses. So we're just going to cover this in the basics for the property. So going off of like current rates and everything like that, putting 25% down, we're going to say that your monthly mortgage payment after, including insurance and taxes, will be about just over $2,400 per month. Now that leaves you with $1,357. And the next thing I'm going to take off after that. So we're going to assume that you're not managing this property yourself. So I have self-managed short-term rentals before, but we're going to assume that you're just looking to relocate your money here and you don't want the hassle of managing that property. So keep in mind, these numbers could be higher if you choose to self-manage. But for this point in case, we're going to say that you're hiring someone who is managing it for 12% of the gross income. So that brings you down to $901, right? So we got the mortgage, you got that management fee, and that 12%, usually the way it works is it's charged, off of each night. So when you get that money, 12% is taken off the top for the manager for managing that property, helping you make sure you're listing, taking care of reviews, and like they do everything in terms of managing the property. Now, aside from that, obviously you are still responsible for any supplies. Like a lot of times, if you don't know, like obviously short-term rentals, you will have like towels and things like that, and some of those may get ruined over time or something happens. Usually, the renter will pay for cleaning, so that's not something you necessarily have to worry about, but you will cover like pool maintenance, things like that. So one general rule of thumb is 1% of the purchase price set aside every year for repairs. There's miscellaneous things that break, pool maintenance, things like that. So that comes out to $526 per month. So you bring that down, and then we're going to assume that you're spending an extra $100 just maintaining like maybe a coffee kit, things like that. Nothing too extravagant, but you are covering some basic amenities to be in the home. That number can definitely be higher, but I'm just going to go with that baseline, for this point in case. So that leaves you with $426 a month. So obviously, like there's a lot of other costs that come into short-term rental, but this is just a general rule of thumb of things to look at if you are looking into it. Because I definitely have had some reach outs to people who maybe aren't fully savvy with short-term rentals. They just assume like, wow, I can get $3,700 a month. That is like way higher than I would for a standard rental in the area. Like you're absolutely right, but there are a lot more costs. Like you're practically a hotel, right? So customer service has to be high. It has to be the top. So pool maintenance, things break, coffee kit, like pods, stuff like that. Let's say, the coffee maker breaks, like eventually, like, you're going to have to supply that, because the last thing you need is like all those renters coming in to be that. And the manager will help source those things, but you ultimately are going to be the one that's left with that budget. So next, like, it's like, what's your return, right? And like one figure to use is like a cash on cash return, which is out of the net you take home every year, divided by how much you put into the property, which for 25% down is roughly around $112,000, right? For 25% down on this property. That number could be higher. Yes, you could do a 20%. Some of this have been lower, but we're going to assume it's a 25%, and that leaves you with about 4.5% return on your investment. So that is on the lower end of the spectrum, right? Like it's typically short-term rentals will give you between 4 and 10%. Anything higher than, let's say, 12% is an above average rental, but 4 to 10% is like a general average, right? So like Orlando, even with home prices being higher, like it is still optional to get a good return on your investment. But obviously that's including a management fee. So yes, maybe you're in the area and maybe you're looking at this, you're like, look, I want to get into the game and do it, or things like that. So yeah, sure, you absolutely can reduce that management fee. Or maybe you can get someone, maybe you have family in the area and you train them up and you just pay them a lesser fee to manage the property. There's a lot of ways to go about this. I mean, I actually have managed short-term rentals out of state. As crazy as that is, like we did have people in the area who would step in to replace toilet paper and things like that. Our cleaners, we had a lock cabinet that only they could access to where they could pull and source material. And when we did travel to the area, we would restock it, and there was plenty of extra material for them to pull from. We had smart locks, so we would know who entered the property and when, because they had their own code, and there are ways to get around it. But I will tell you, like, if you do try and do that, like, it can be a stressful event, and a lot of times having a manager in place, personally, I prefer it. I'm not a huge person of wanting to manage my own rental properties. I've done it. I'm not against it. But when it comes to having, it's better to have someone who is professional at management to take care of it, and someone who has a good track record too. One thing I say, if you are looking for a management company, like I can have recommendations, absolutely. Or if you want to do your own research, like a lot of times it's like finding that middle ground, right? Like you have like the new manager, brand new, not a huge track record, probably going to be close to like 8%, management fee, but you could even have even higher than 12%, right? Like, but you also have large companies, which you're just gonna be a number to them, so they might not give the level of customer service you have. Finding a good middle ground is usually the best bet. Maybe someone who medium size, like they have the ability to manage several rentals, if not more, because they already have proven track record with other clients, but they're able to treat your renters with a great level of care when they have questions or concerns and things like that. So, overall, Orlando is a great market to have a short-term rental. You just have to go into it with the right mindset and idea. Obviously, definitely have investors who are looking to relocate that money from like other states, especially California, because it is not landlord happy. Some people enjoy that, some people don't. But unfortunately, the cash-on-cash return over there is just not solid. But so a lot of people have vacation. So keep in mind, if you are looking at this and you're like, look, I want to rent it, but I want to come when I come, like a couple weeks, month out of the year, I won't rent it out. Then keep in mind your return will be a lot lower because you're not renting it out during that time. So be aware. Make sure if you have any questions, like you reach out and we can have that conversation further. We can talk about different areas, like what the good, the bad, things that, are expected, what amenities are common in an Airbnb, so what homes you're looking for and things like that. I hope you got a good value in this home to whether an Airbnb can be a smart decision for you. And it can be. It just all comes down to really how much you're putting down in the home and things like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This number popping up below is how you can get a hold of me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.